Don't forget to like and subscribe. Mental health awareness has never been more prominent, yet surprisingly, subtle dismissals persist in our everyday lives. In a recent discussion, mental health advocate Jordan Collins from downtown Seattle pointed out how, despite progress, society still underestimates mental wellness. Today, we'll explore these insights further, rearranging our focus to highlight different aspects of the conversation and encouraging you to share your perspective. Shifting perspectives. Humor versus harm. Humor is an essential part of everyday communication, a way for people to bond, release tension, or simply lighten a heavy mood. Yet, when humor targets the challenges of mental health, its effects can be more harmful than it first appears. Imagine a scenario where a friend makes a casual joke about someone's anxiety or uses clinical terms like OCD or bipolar to describe minor quirks. What might begin as a harmless remark can quickly reinforce stereotypes and trivialize genuine struggles. This kind of humor often serves as an unconscious mechanism to deflect our own discomfort about the realities of mental health. It creates an environment where laughter becomes a tool for distancing ourselves from the complex emotions and vulnerabilities that mental health issues invoke. As we laugh, we may unintentionally signal that these issues are less important than other topics, minimizing the challenges that many people face daily. By critically examining the role humor plays in our conversations, we can better understand its double-edged nature, where it might offer temporary relief for some, but also contribute to a culture that dismisses the seriousness of mental health. Ultimately, the goal is to cultivate a sense of awareness that distinguishes between humor meant to build connection and humor that belittles another's genuine experience. This shift in perspective encourages us to be more thoughtful with our words, ensuring that our attempts to lighten the mood do not come at the expense of someone's emotional well-being. Historical roots and modern misunderstandings. The stigma surrounding mental health is not a modern invention. Its roots extend deep into our history. In ancient civilizations, unexplained behaviors or conditions were often interpreted as the result of supernatural forces, curses, or possession by malevolent entities. People suffering from what we now recognize as mental illnesses were frequently marginalized, ostracized, or even subjected to brutal treatments in an effort to expel the evil within them. As societies evolved and the field of medicine advanced, these primitive beliefs slowly gave way to scientific inquiry and more compassionate understandings of mental health. Yet, even as we embraced modern diagnostic techniques and therapeutic practices, remnants of these old ideas persisted in cultural narratives. Many still view mental health challenges as vague, subjective, or even as signs of personal weakness, misconceptions that arise from a long history of misunderstanding. In modern times, the invisibility of many mental health symptoms further complicates public perception. Unlike physical ailments that present visible signs, many mental health conditions are hidden from the casual observer, leading some to mistakenly conclude that they are less real or urgent. This disconnect between visible symptoms and genuine distress contributes to the ongoing debate over mental health's validity as a medical concern. Acknowledging this historical context is essential. It allows us to understand how deep-seated fears and misconceptions continue to shape attitudes toward mental wellness today, even as scientific advancements offer clearer insights. Workplace and educational pressures. The environments in which we live, our workplaces and educational institutions, play a significant role in shaping how we perceive and address mental health. In many professional settings, the relentless pursuit of productivity and profit often leaves little room for acknowledging individual well-being. Consider a high-pressure office environment in downtown Seattle, where an accountant faces relentless deadlines and immense pressure during tax season. Under these conditions, expressions of stress or anxiety can be misinterpreted as a lack of resilience or even laziness. Similarly, educational institutions are not immune to these pressures. In many schools and universities, the drive for academic excellence overshadows the importance of mental and emotional health. Students, whether in bustling urban centers or quieter suburban settings, often find themselves caught in a cycle where the pressure to perform academically eclipses their personal struggles. An overwhelmed student might seek help or express their difficulties, only to be met with skepticism or the assumption that they are merely seeking an excuse to avoid challenges. These scenarios are indicative of a broader systemic issue. When institutions prioritize output and measurable success over individual health, they inadvertently create environments where mental health is seen as a secondary concern. Addressing this requires not only changes in policy and practice, but also a cultural shift that recognizes the intrinsic value of every individual's mental and emotional state. A supportive workplace or school is one that balances the need for high performance with a genuine commitment to the well-being of its members. The digital dilemma. Dark humor and self-diagnosis. The rise of social media and digital platforms has revolutionized the way we communicate about mental health, but it has also introduced new challenges. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram have become hubs for mental health discussions, enabling users to share personal stories, coping strategies, and even humor related to their experiences. However, this democratization of conversation sometimes leads to an oversimplification of complex mental health issues. Dark humor, which is often shared through memes and viral videos, can provide comic relief and foster a sense of community among those who feel isolated by their struggles. Yet, when such humor reduces serious conditions to punchlines or fleeting trends, it risks trivializing the lived experiences of millions. This form of humor may inadvertently normalize dismissive attitudes, reinforcing the notion that mental health issues are just a quirky part of one's personality rather than a serious medical concern. In tandem with dark humor, the phenomenon of self-diagnosis has become widespread in the digital age. With endless streams of content providing brief overviews of various disorders, many users quickly label themselves based on cursory observations or catchy hashtags. While self-identification can be empowering and foster community, it also poses the danger of creating a superficial understanding of nuanced conditions. Without the guidance of professionals, self-diagnosis may lead to misinterpretations, mismanagement of symptoms, or even the overlooking of more serious underlying issues. This digital dilemma calls for a balanced approach, one that leverages the power of social media to raise awareness while also ensuring that conversations remain respectful, accurate, and informed by expert knowledge. Building a new narrative through empathy. At the heart of shifting the conversation around mental health lies a simple yet powerful principle: empathy. Building a new narrative means recognizing that every individual's struggle is unique and deserving of compassion. Instead of resorting to quick jokes or dismissive comments, we can choose to listen deeply and respond with understanding. Empathy invites us to place ourselves in another person's shoes, to consider how we would feel if our own vulnerabilities were met with ridicule rather than support. Education is a critical tool in this transformation. The more we learn about the various aspects of mental health, from the biological and psychological underpinnings to the social and cultural influences, the better equipped we are to challenge harmful stereotypes and dismantle long-held misconceptions. By engaging with well-researched information and personal stories from experts and survivors alike, we can build a more informed dialogue that respects the complexity of mental health issues. Creating safe spaces for honest conversation is also essential. Whether it's through formal support groups, community initiatives, or simply open conversations among friends and family, providing opportunities for people to share their experiences without fear of judgment can lead to significant cultural change. In these spaces, vulnerability is celebrated as a strength rather than seen as a weakness, paving the way for more compassionate interactions and better support systems. Ultimately, by prioritizing empathy and education, we can reshape societal attitudes towards mental health, fostering a culture that values each person's well-being as much as their productivity or outward achievements. Conclusion: a call for collective change. Transforming the way we view and address mental health is not the responsibility of any one individual. It requires a collective effort from communities, institutions, and society at large. Whether you are in a corporate office in San Francisco, a classroom in Atlanta, or a community center in Chicago, each of us has a role to play in challenging outdated attitudes and fostering a more supportive environment. Collective change starts with small, everyday actions. It might be as simple as reconsidering a joke, offering a listening ear to a friend in distress, or advocating for mental health resources in your workplace or school. By questioning long-held assumptions and engaging in conversations that prioritize understanding over judgment, we can begin to dismantle the systemic barriers that perpetuate stigma. The journey toward a more compassionate society involves reimagining our priorities, placing mental and emotional well-being on par with physical health and productivity. This cultural shift calls for initiatives that promote mental health literacy, policy changes that protect individuals in high-stress environments, and an overall societal commitment to recognizing and addressing mental health with the seriousness it deserves. As we move forward, let us embrace this challenge with the knowledge that every supportive conversation, every empathetic gesture, and every effort to educate ourselves contributes to a future where mental health is respected and nurtured. What steps can we take in our own lives to foster this change? Your insights and experiences are invaluable in creating a community that truly understands and supports mental well-being.